All right, we are unmuted and live.
Okay, it's 9 o'clock, so I'll call the meeting to order. This meeting may inadvertently cause a quorum of other county committees for the County Board of Supervisors. No business decisions of any other committees or Board of Supervisors will be conducted at this meeting. This meeting and all other meetings of this committee are open to the public. Proper notice has been posted and given to the media in accordance with Wisconsin statutes so that the citizenry may be aware of the time, place, and agenda of this meeting. Roll call, it looks like everybody's here.
All right. I apologize that item number 3 we can skip over because we did that last meeting.
Did everybody review the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda other than item 3.
We have a second?
I'll get a second.
Okay, it's been approved and seconded. Okay, we review the previous minutes of,
We gotta take a vote on that.
well, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, we need to review the previous minutes of May 16th.
I make a motion to accept the minutes.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Next, we'll go to correspondence.
I don't have any.
Anybody else have any? Okay, go down to item 7, administrative department
Sure.
report.
All right, couple things since the last time that we met, for staffing, the program assistant position, Annette is retiring effective July 5th. Penny and I have, the position has been posted. We have reviewed applications, we have interviewed, and we have put forth our preferred candidate, and HR is doing background checks, or the screening, or the next step, the reference checks regarding that. So we hope to have someone on board within early to mid-July, knowing that notice to an employer and things like that need to happen. But thanks to Ken for being part of the interview panel and helping us screen. That was it was a good day, and there are some good candidates out there. So hopefully we're going to get our number 1 choice. I'll announce that name once we get one, or actually we'll have an introduction probably at our next meeting. Also the human development and relationships position that's currently vacant, that was Sandy's previous position. I've got all of the much of the paperwork. I'm waiting for one approval. We are going to offer, or at least I'm asking for a hiring bonus to be added to this position, because talking with some other AEDs and another position that I have posted, the pools are pretty slim, and I don't know if a hiring bonus is the right way, but it is a tool that we have in the toolbox to try and get a good pool of candidates. More on that, and Dennis and I will connect with Dennis to see if our schedules align for screening, to do some screening, participate in the search and screen. If they don't, then Dennis and I will reach out to other members to participate. There are some opportunities. I am the hiring authority with the university, but we do value and I want input from you as as the county partner, and some of your perspectives. So that will be coming. I'm anticipating that it takes a little bit. So if we post, I probably will not at this point. I will post intentionally after the 4th of July. The 4th of July is a pretty dead week. So I'll probably post right away after, and then we'll go from there. So hopefully somewhere in the month of September, we'll have someone that we'll be able to bring on board, depending on if they're coming from another, employer and they need to give notice of what that might be. I'll have so some of our overall department activities will have the staff when they do they have the opportunity to give some updates. One of the things that is on my to-do list is to discuss and work with Christy Opperman, our county clerk, to see if we can if we still have some time to sneak in this year a county board tour. I think in many cases we've gotten good feedback and people have been appreciative. We just we missed the traditional June date. There's just been a lot of stuff going on, so we're going to see if this fall. Otherwise, if not, I think our tentative is to then just begin planning for next year, next spring or early summer, moving forward. So, and that would be an opportunity to get input from what do the supervisors want to see, and then also what do the department head and the departments have that that they would have to offer, or some new things or community related things, and then put those together. So looking forward to that. That was I know I was on the last time that we had it, and we were in Waupaca, if I'm right, and that was kind of a fun, get some behind the scenes. Some places that you either drive through or drive by, and then you actually kind of see them from a different perspective. I don't have at this point, don't have a lot of other area, region and state updates. One of the things that just reminded is that so we've kicked off in Winnebago and Outagamie counties. We've kicked off the budget process, and our initial budget, initial budgets need to be submitted by no later than the end of July, and that's about the time. So it's kind of nice because then we'll kick off here in July with our budgets in for 2023, looking forward, usually around that middle part of August date to turn those in. So we'll have more on budget conversations, and actually we'll get some feedback. We'll get some feedback at some point relating to after we listen to Heidi and have some, I'll let think about that. And so I'm going to pause before I transition to Heidi. Any questions or comments or other items that anyone has for me? Okay, hearing none. Heidi, are you hearing okay? Your volume's good? All right. So last month last month, giving an overview of extension, in part of kind of our intro, there were some questions and questions related to the ag position and the staffing strategy. I touched base with Dennis at your request. I reached out to Heidi, touched base with Dennis to see if it would be okay. Heidi has had the opportunity to work with a couple of regions or a handful of regions in implementing this. So this is no action information, only based on your request or your response for background information. So I want to both turn it over to Heidi and then have an opportunity for some dialogue. And I also want the supervisors to reintroduce yourselves to Heidi so that she knows I think it's just always good to know who's in the room. And I know she'll also give an introduction to herself about herself as well. So Heidi, do you want to give an introduction, and then we'll pause and give the supervisors, the committee, an opportunity to introduce themselves to you. Does that sound good?
Yeah, I can do that. So
Okay.
Thank you for having me on this Monday morning. My name is Heidi Johnson. I'm the director of the Agriculture Institute for Extension. Can you hear me okay?
I'm improving the volume, but we
Okay.
can hear you.
Do you want me to yell?
Yeah. Speakers.
Okay, I'm just we have audio, but I'm
Trying to make it better.
yes.
Okay.
There we go.
Yes.
All right. Is that better?
Yes, we're good.
All right. Well, thanks for having me on this Monday morning. I'm the director of the Agriculture Institute for Extension, but prior to this, I spent many years as a county educator. I've actually worked in 5 different counties in the time that I've been with Extension, so very familiar with the county relationship and county extension. Also did graduate work with some of our extension specialists. So I have a long history with extension, and I've been in this job for the last couple of years. And I'll go over kind of what we're doing for staffing in a minute, but it would be great to hear from all of you.
Lila, do you want to?
Sure. I'm Lila Schauer. I work for a electric utility, rural electric utility, and I work in their finance department. And I'm new. I'm very new.
Okay.
I'm Dick Rowland. I'm from Bear Creek. I'm on the town board there as well.
Okay.
I have pretty good background and working for the highway department for 30 years, so.
Okay.
It's a good place to work.
All right. Ken,
Ken Yeager, County Supervisor, Tallahassee. My second term on UWA Extension. Enjoyed it a lot. Liked the people. Very interesting.
Good.
Okay, Dennis Wengelski, retired. I worked 34 years for Greenstone Farm Credit Services as a financial service officer out of the Clintonville office. And I'm also treasurer for Town of Larrabee.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Pete Boskus, third term as County Board Supervisor for District 21. Retired law enforcement officer after 23 years.
Okay. All right. Good. That's good. So definitely hear some new people. So I don't want to take everyone through the whole background of the staffing plan, but I do think I want to give you a little bit of a background. So for those of you that haven't heard it, you can. So I'm going to share my screen, and I do bad at doing technology and talking at the same time. So I'm going to be quiet for just 1 minute while I do this. Swap. How's that?
looks good.
All right. So my job includes figuring out how we take the state contribution that we have for staffing and distribute it across the state into some sort of staffing plan. So when I came into this job, I was facing several challenges related to staffing, and I'll go over what those are. But usually when we had our challenges related to staffing, but when we had a county vacancy, counties really wanted us to refill positions right away. So it was really challenging to make any changes. So when the pandemic hit, we were on a hiring freeze for about a year, and that gave us some time to reflect on those challenges. So my challenges were that I have enough state funding for about 55 co-funded positions. There's 72 Wisconsin counties, so the math was bad, and I was constantly ending up with a mismatch. There was more county demand than there was funding to match with the counties for positions. So that was a huge challenge for me. Somebody was always mad. But that's life in general, right? But that was a big challenge. The other thing that I experienced was that agriculture, extension has been around for over 100 years, and we were staffing pretty similarly over that time. And what I was noticing is that we were getting a lot of staff turnover, and when we did exit reports, when people were leaving, they were telling us, we don't understand this job. This job, you're trying to have me do everything within a county boundary. So everything from horticulture to dairy to livestock work to crop production. And it just is very difficult to be good at all those things. And I could relate to that because I experienced that in my county role, that it was very difficult to be good at all those things. The other challenge that we had is that agriculture is very well organized at the state level. There is lots of producer groups that are organized into their producer groups, and then they each have representatives on something called the Agriculture Coalition. And that coalition meets regularly and they lobby together, and they were lobbying. They weren't lobbying for us anymore. They were lobbying for us to fund researchers, but they weren't lobbying for us to have field staff. And that was hurting us and further depleting our state resources because they were trying to they were advocating to siphon money off of county educators and put it into research positions. So the problem that they were telling us was that your county educator positions aren't specialized enough. When you want people to do everything, they have trouble really being able to become experts in any one thing. So that was a challenge that we were having, and we were getting, we were looking at probably getting further reductions in our state resources if we didn't respond to their concerns regarding our staff. So I won't go through all the details, but I spent a long time at the beginning of the pandemic getting together people within the extension organization, both county educators and our extension specialists. We met for several months. We looked at how other states were doing extension positions, and we came up with an overall staffing strategy that we hoped would help solve some of these challenges that we were having. So this is the plan that we now have for staffing, and really what it's meant to do is create layers of staff that have different types of expertise. Dairy production and grain and forage production are the two biggest agriculture industries in the state. And so those industries, we wanted to staff at a higher level because there's more farms. And so we have for dairy and crop production, we have what are called regional educators. They cover anywhere from 3 to 5 counties. And we've been negotiating with counties as we go, and I can show you kind of the current status of where things are at. But we've been filling these regional educator positions. For other types of agriculture and horticulture specializations, we have been hiring positions called outreach specialists. And these positions are covering a bigger geography still. We have several in farm management. We now have 4 of them. 2 in livestock. 1 does beef and 1 does swine. An emerging crops outreach specialist. 4 agriculture water quality specialists, which is a new type of position for us, meant to address some of the water quality issues that we're having in Wisconsin. 1 cranberry position, and then we have 2 people doing horticulture outreach and 2 doing master gardener program. So what does this look like on the ground? So for the regional crop educator, they're providing education to the grain and forage crop producers in their service area. Our regional dairy educators providing education to the dairy producers in the service area. And then if in the new model, in any given county, if there are horticulture questions, those horticulture questions are starting to go into a statewide horticulture hotline that's managed by our horticulture staff and master gardeners. If in a county there's farms that are interested in farm labor issues, they wouldn't go to the dairy educator, they would go and access the resources developed by outreach specialists on farm labor. If there's farmers that are interested in water quality issues, they can utilize the resources developed by those agriculture water quality outreach specialists. So you see, rather than just going right to a county educator, you can go to different types of extension staff depending on your specific need that you have, and et cetera. You saw all the different outreach specialist positions. The funding model for this is different as well. The regional educators are the positions that we're asking counties to co-fund with us. And the co-funding, I had updated this slide with new numbers and then I got lost. I'm sorry. I had the new 2023 numbers in here, but this is an old version. But this is just an example. Generally, the way extension shares the funding for counties is we have a flat fee for a county educator. And that flat fee is around $44,000 right now. It's gone up since 2021. We have an inflation rate in there. So that we're taking that flat fee and we're dividing it by the number of counties that each regional educator is serving. So if a regional crops educator is covering 3 counties and a regional dairy educator is covering 3 counties, that fee is divided by 3. And then if you add those 2 together, because a crops educator and a dairy educator are covering the same county, that each county would pay $28,000. And then we're working on things like office location, technology, travel. Those are some of the things that we're figuring out as we go, as we're hiring these outreach specialist positions. We are not asking counties to invest in our outreach specialist positions. We are funding those with a variety of mechanisms, and I can go over some of that, but most of those are non-county. There's 2 exceptions. We have counties that are investing, one in the Cranberry position, Wood County is investing in that, and then Bayfield County is investing in our emerging crops outreach specialists. So the door is open for that, but most of the time we're not using county funding for that. But counties do have access to those educators or those outreach specialists and the resources that they provide. So this is the current status. We had a lot of resignations and retirements during COVID. That has been the trend, the great resignation, and we were not immune from that. We had a lot of people leave during the pandemic. So because of that, we've been quickly moving into this new staffing strategy. So we currently have 8 regional crops educators in place across the state, and we have 6 regional dairy educators that are already in place across the state. Some of them were new hires, and some of them were our current staff that became regional after they had been in a county position. We also, I mentioned at the very beginning that the Ag Coalition was lobbying against us before this. They were very happy with the way that we were staffing, and they loved our new staffing plan. So because of that, they started lobbying for us, and that lobbying resulted in $1 million budget increase to help us hire all of these outreach specialists. So we've been hiring like crazy. And we have all of these outreach specialists that are starting or will be starting in the next couple of weeks. So we have 4 agriculture water quality specialists. I think one of them is yet to start, but the other 3 are on. We have 3 farm management outreach specialists, and they're all have already started or 2 have started their position. 1 is going to start. We have 2 livestock positions. Neither of those have started yet, but they're both hired. We have a cranberry position. She's actually been on for the last few years. That was one of the first ones we hired. We have an emerging crops position. That one was a person that we already had. He transitioned into that position last year. We just hired a grazing position, and we have 2 horticulture people already on and 2 master gardener people already on. So we've been quickly moving into this direction with the new budget money that we have. So what are regional educators doing? The first one that we hired was hired in November. So, and that position is in Barron, Polk, St. Croix, and Pierce. His name is Michael. He started in, I think it was November, and he's been quickly showing us what it looks like to have regional educators. And then we've been adding to the group. So as they've been adding on there, we've been getting them together. They're learning from each other and figuring out how to do these new roles. But first of all, they're getting to know the farms in their service area so that they can provide educational training and field days. So that's already been happening. They're providing direct consultations with farmers and ag consultants to solve production challenges, and that's already been taking place. They're working on newsletters and writing articles, and then building out some online resources for producers. And then, of course, they're getting to know the extension committees in the counties that they're serving. So the closest example to your county is we have a new regional dairy educator in Shawano, Oconto, and Marinette. She's not new. She was already the educator in Shawano. She moved into a regional educator position. And then we had an educator in Marinette and Oconto, and he became a regional crops educator. He's actually covering 5 counties: Shawano, Oconto, Marinette, Langlade, and Lincoln. So they just moved into those roles in April, and they've been working on doing all of the things that I showed you here, getting to know people and building out resources and starting to do some educational work. As far as those outreach specialist positions, they're working a lot with those producer groups. For example, we have a grazing outreach specialist that just started. He's working with Grassworks and some of the other grazing organizations to understand the needs of the producers. They're starting to work on understanding the research base, and that will help them develop statewide programming. So for example, our agriculture water quality outreach specialists are quickly learning what is the most current research related to agriculture and water quality, and they're using that information to write articles and do some programming. And a lot of those positions we're working hard on developing our web resources. So we have very well-built websites that have lots of information about things like water quality or farm labor or stuff like that. So that's currently what we're working on. Many of them have just started within the last week or two, or are going to start in the next couple of weeks. So we'll be learning a lot over this next year about how they work with producers and what those roles look like. So that's the end. I will stop there and take your questions.
Any questions? Or
I have one. 10 acres. You said like your regional crop educator, it's got like 4 or 5 counties up in northeastern Wisconsin. Where are they based out of? They're not working out of their car, so I mean,
Right. Right.
What facility are they using?
He moved to a I believe he was based in Marinette. He's been with us for 20 some years. So he's a longtime educator. I believe he was based in Marinette prior to this. He moved to the Oconto County office so that he could be more central to his area. So, and we're kind of working on that as we go. So if we hire a brand new hire, we give them the option of what county office they would like to be in. We're asking them to be in a county office, but we're allowing them to sort of pick. It's actually a recruitment strategy to try to give some flexibility in where people can live and work, because people do appreciate being able to pick that. And so we've seen it happen differently across the state as we've hired people. They've decided where they want to live, and then we found a county office that's close to them. And then generally what the area extension directors are doing is making sure that the other county offices maybe have like a place for that person to go if they want to work for a day. So Scott is the educator up in north of you. He's based in Oconto County, but say he wants to go to Lincoln County for a day, there would be some space in the Lincoln County extension office where he could put his computer down and plug in, maybe meet with farmers, those sorts of things. So we're trying to make sure that those educators have a home base, but they can also travel to other counties if they need to. We don't want them in their cars all the time. We're trying to protect them from a nomadic lifestyle, because that we know people aren't happy when they spend all their time in their cars. So we're trying to really, how do we utilize technology? How do we create efficiencies with our travel time so that they're not in their car all the time?
Got a question now. This person, if he was out of Marinette County, he was probably specializing more in dairy there. But now he's got Lang Lake County, he's got potatoes over there. So does he have to?
Yeah. So
his training, or is he?
So he was always a crops person. And so he was always really good at forage production and grain production. He's still doing those. Langlade County actually has a potato research facility, and they actually fund a part-time farm manager, I think is the role, but that person actually does some and that's partially funded by the potato growers as well. So that person actually does potato research on that small research farm and does potato outreach. So Scott is our crops educator. He's not doing potato work. He's mostly dealing with the field and forage crops that are in Langlade County. And then the other position that's at the research farm is doing potatoes.
Thank you.
So where do we fit in? Since the
Yep.
board eliminated that funding that was there, the people that I represent are worried that they're not going to have access to all the information they need.
Right. Yeah, so I can let Chris talk here, but I think our recommendation is that you consider investing in regional educators, and we can propose what that would look like, but we would propose you investing in a regional crops and a regional dairy educator. And so, which would require putting funding back into your budget, but that would be our recommendation, which allows your crop producers and your dairy producers to have access to our extension educational resources.
And so a couple of things related to that. Right now, there's a current vacancy in Winnebago County as well. So that would be a natural partnership. And in November, the Outagamie County Dairy and Livestock Educator will be retiring, which would provide an opportunity for the potential, I guess I should say, of a 3-county dairy, of a dairy educator, regional dairy educator, with also part of our, I guess our area region is a long-term crops educator in Outagamie County, who also works collaboratively and is has an expertise in forage production that would contribute to the team, but would still be primarily Outagamie County, but would have an impact or would be a colleague to the regional crops educator.
So just to summarize that, we would do a crops educator for Waupaca and Winnebago, and then a regional dairy educator for Waupaca, Winnebago, Outagamie once that retirement takes place.
One other item is the not related specifically to the ag positions. I've been working with administration because those of you who have looked at reviewed the contract know that going back a number of years that Penny Tank's 4-H position was fully county funded. Because going back 20 some years ago, that was the second position with at that time Connie Hebert's position being the co-funded position. And in the transition and those things that had maintained going through, which was created some inequity amongst all of the other 4-H program educators. So beginning in the 2023 calendar year, Penny's position will be a co-funded position, which will balance that inequity. Also will show some, just provide recognition for the work and contributions that Penny has. It will also result in a significant departmental budget savings. So there is potential, I have to work the numbers if you would like me to work them through, that we may be able to add these positions at and still stay within the adjusted departmental budget that was with the budget adjustment that was done in January to remove the funding if we would like to consider moving forward with that. So I can at some point I could work in and bring some of those calculations for this group to consider before we would with your approval, and then we would work the contract through the finance committee before I would put the finishing touches on the budget, if that's what you wish to do. So this was an informational, so no action, intentionally no action taken, but we'll definitely can bring in more information to you at for future meetings to consider. But with that, any other questions for Heidi related to the scope and the intention of the staffing strategies going on?
Very good job. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you.
Sure.
And Heidi, I'll let you go because I know you're up to your ears in new people. So
Yes.
thank you very much for your time this morning, Heidi.
All right. Thank you. Have a good day.
Okay, so that's the information. That's kind of the highlight of where we're at since, you know, the last time when we started talking about this, we would have been one of the first regions to look at filling the position, and now we're definitely not. We're not an early adopter. So that would be something that I would ask you to consider, and I guess provide me some guidance, and I can bring you information, and then we would, you know, depending on what the next steps were, would be we'd start at this committee and move our way through.
there be something that we could do, like a survey or something with area with county farmers to just see what the amount interest is, or?
Let me think on that. I think, yes, we can. I'm not sure exactly right now how we would do it, but the other group that is potentially worth reaching out to, that is representative of a number of farmers is the County Farm Bureau. And they're aware, they are one of the ones that are part of the Ag Coalition that Heidi had mentioned. So at the state level, they are supportive. And I have had some informational conversations. I've provided them some education or some information at their request to their board so that they can communicate as a board and their members on what they would support. They have, I mean, I'm not in a political role, so they haven't gotten back to me and said, this is what our platform is. Or this is what we're advocating for, but that is something that I know that they had been, they were planning to discuss. I mean, they had indicated that they would after I provide some information similar to what Heidi presented to you, to them.
I think like just in the town board, like Muckwa Town Board, when the issue come up, there was 4 or 5 people that felt the need for it alone, that just attended the meetings. You know, so I'm just an idea, Dennis, of what it is, and people aren't, sometimes the right information isn't coming back. You know what I mean? And if it's presented right, like I presented it at a town board meeting, and that's where the interest popped up. And that's where people wanted this.
What type of people were these?
Farmers and,
Full-time farmers, or?
well, 2 of them are full-time farmers and then they're cash crops.
We gotta find out what their target, which group really needs the help and target them. I guess that's part of the too, because these large farms have their specialists and everything. They probably isn't that much of a need, and find somebody that it would just take too much of their time to work with the large ones. They've got their own.
I guess maybe what we should do is like in town of Lebanon, take the time and go out there and talk to some of those bigger farmers.
So
We got 3 big farms in town of Lebanon alone and get a. So.
yeah. So one thing that I'll just add, and this isn't necessarily, this is what I've seen, and as I've discussed with other ADs and even Heidi. It sometimes, and I totally agree with you, Dennis, that some of the larger farms have some of their specialist things. In many cases, or in some other cases, the regional educators have worked with those farm input specialists or those individuals and helped to provide them. That's where. So not only is that when, as Heidi was saying, not only are they going out and getting to know producers, but they're also getting to know industry professionals to then know what the education and opportunities. And I do see, because this is what extension does, is that if there's, for example, we'll use the crops, a regional crops educator, they would connect with Scott to the north and say, okay, what are the areas and are there some things we can bring in? What are you seeing? What am I seeing? What can we do? And work together as the network. So I will let me add that to see how we can gather some input. I think the one of the first things I will do is I will touch base with the president of the Farm Bureau to see if they have any of that sense or that feeling, if they've already, because they may have already done some of that from their membership. That could be helpful.
Maybe give us a rundown on who they represent, how many farms in Waupaca County, so we know.
Yeah, I can do that.
That kind of basic information.
Yep.
So do I understand it correctly that Penny's position is going to be co-funded, so that's going to free up some dollars to put towards these 2 new positions, or are we also going to ask the county board for more funding?
So let's put it this way, here is a known, because there has not been a decision to, so the known is that with so $106,000 is the total amount that was included in the contract for Penny's position. That includes salary and the full fringe benefit package. So that's the whole big picture piece. And there would be a 2% increase that would be factored into that because of it's the direct cost related to that. So whatever 2% of the salary, and then it has some residuals, whatever that number, someone would give me that number, but I actually don't have to worry about that number because on January 1, then that will go from 106 or 107,000 to $44,900. So there'll be roughly $60,000 difference. That will be, I guess it will be a differential. It will be a differential moving forward. And granted, there are some increases in some of our other fixed costs, so it's not that full amount would be available. But doing the math, 22 and then divide 44.9 by 3, you add those together plus some of the expenses for some mileage and some of the other incidental expenses is fairly close, just off the top of my head, to a similar to that cost savings or that change in that differential. So it is possible, give or take a very small leeway on each side, that even with the $56,000 decrease, with the next decrease, it could potentially come out fairly close to status quo 2022 to 2023 and still provide the extension, the regional coverages.
That's amazing. It never works out that good usually.
No, it normally doesn't. But this is a unique situation that I'm actually very pleased to work through.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
I mean, and even if we had to ask the board for a little money, that's nothing compared to, what it could have been.
correct. So I can work on finding more information and bringing that to the next meeting. That's what I'm hearing as a request from this group.
Add that, I know Amy and Annette have been keeping track of phone calls and walk-ins. And so they could serve as really fantastic resources as well. They're getting the calls and walk-ins on a daily basis of the requests.
Yep.
Today or another time we can provide.
Yeah, that basic information is what we need to be able to, because my district, I had a lot of people asking about it already, about why we cut that money, and they want that person or somebody to talk to. So I think it'll be important, but we'll need that basic information in order to sell it to the rest of the board.
Right. Yep. Okay. I'll work on gathering that for the next meeting.
Okay, we're done with that. Then next is educator reports. Christie.
Thank you. Good morning again. I wasn't able to be at the last extension committee meeting where everyone gave brief summaries. So I'm going to give a summary on the FoodWise program today. So I'm Christy Gabrilka. I'm the FoodWise coordinator. And very similarly to the new AG models, FoodWise is a federally funded. So we come to you at a very inexpensive price, but we are federally funded nutrition and well-being program. The USDA food share, so formerly known as food stamps, is the program that funds our positions, and we are the educational component of that program. So anyone eligible for the food share program really is our target audience. We partner with WIC, Head Start, Healthy Beginnings, a lot of the programs within Health and Human Services. We go into elementary schools where at least 50% of the students are eligible to participate in the free and reduced lunch program. So in Waupaca County, that looks like, Lincoln Elementary in New London, Rexford, Longfellow in Clintonville, Marion Elementary School, Waupaca Elementary School, always teeter-totters around that 50%. And I may be forgetting one, but off the top of my head, those are the main ones. And as I was saying, similarly to the new ag model, I started my role in 2013. And 2 years after that, I was actually asked to step into an interim role as the coordinator for Outagamie, Waupaca, Outagamie, Calumet, Winnebago County. They had a retired or staff leave in that count, those 3 counties, that they were always lumped as 3 counties. And we were only Waupaca, and then that interim turned into a full-time role. So ever since then, I've been the full-time Calumet, Outagamie, Waupaca, and Winnebago County coordinator for those roles, or for that program. And we have nutrition educators who then are locally housed in the counties to provide the direct education. So we have Haley Struck, who is our nutrition educator here in Waupaca County. And although her title does cover all 4 counties, she really strictly covers Waupaca County. We have Chris Soper, who covers Winnebago County. She's housed in offices in Outagamie. And then we also have Brandon Dawson, who is our nutrition educator in Outagamie County. And then Calumet County is shared, so we don't have an educator housed there specifically. Then we also have a healthy communities coordinator, Hannah, who does cover all 4 of our counties. So she is housed in Outagamie just based on kind of geography and the office that she chose, the office that had space for her at the time as well when we hired her. But she does provide services to Waupaca County as well. So she focuses her role more on policy change, systems change, environmental change related to nutrition education, or nutrition and physical activity really. So that could look like helping a school implement a school garden or something like that. And then the food could go into the food program. So I have a local, actually I lumped these up so you can just take a full packet. I have our local 2021 Waupaca County program report. Yep, perfect. And then behind that is a coalition that we're a part of in Waupaca County, year-end report with that as well. So I just wanted to highlight a few programs that we work on here in Waupaca County. So our nutrition educator, Haley, she collaborates a lot with our WIC offices with Healthy Beginnings. We have a very large collaboration with the public library that we've recently developed. And that is also part of the coalition that we work on. I'm the facilitator of the Living the Waupaca Way Coalition, which is the second booklet that you guys have. And we really focus a lot of our energies on increasing access to fruits and vegetables, increasing access to the opportunities for physical activity, moving our bodies, really anything that's going to help our families thrive in the environment that they live in. So as you can kind of see over the last couple of years, we had to transition a lot of our programming to a virtual outreach. And we found that there still is a need for some virtual education as we transition out of the pandemic era and into more of a normal educational, opportunity. In the winter, we are very, our county is very rural, and we have recognized that we can actually reach more of our county if we, in the winter months when no one wants to travel, or we constantly are dodging, icy and snowy weather, we can reach our families in their homes, and our target audience is parents with young kids. So families with 1, 2, 3, 4-year-olds in the winter in Wisconsin would prefer most likely to hang out at home when they have access to internet and technology at home to do so. But that doesn't mean that we haven't still transitioned back to a lot of our in-person, and that has really been fantastic over the last, really 2021 has allowed us to get back in person almost with all of our sites. We've also done a ton of work with the Waupaca Farmers Market. Over the last few years, we've helped to actually bring in the EBT machine to the market so that our families who participate in food share can use their food share dollars at the farmers market. So they swipe their cards like a credit card reader. They bring, or they in return receive tokens, and then they can spend those tokens on any of the eligible foods like fresh fruits and vegetables, eggs, meat, bread, and really anything that isn't prepackaged and ready to eat. Like there's a tamale stand at the market. They can't purchase those, but really pretty much any other food they can. We also work very closely with our WIC families, and they also through the WIC program have additional dollars in the summer months that they can specifically spend on fruits and vegetables at the farmers market. And so we help to incentivize those. We're really trying to help increase the redemption rate. So a ton of our work, and actually we're over the last 2 years have been able to build in staff time to build relationships, which is just so crucial in order for our families to trust us and to want to attend our programs and really to hear us out. We need to get to know them better. So we're spending a lot of time just getting to know our families. We provide farmers market tours, grocery store tours. We are helping our WIC families in addition to our staff families with additional, every Saturday, the market offers $10 incentives. So if they come and swipe their benefits, they get an additional farmers market matches that $10. So they're ending up with even more money to spend at the farmers market. So a lot of that is kind of considered those policy changes or systems changes. The market went from not accepting EBT to accepting EBT. Then we're also adding in those direct education opportunities by walking our families through the market, hand in hand, showing them, where to park, where to redeem their benefits, how to, communicate with the vendors. And for something that may feel kind of intimidating or scary if they've never been, really kind of make that experience a little more familiar for them. And then in years to come, they're more comfortable going to the market, spending those dollars that they have available to them. And in return, we're able to, increase that access to those fresh fruits and vegetables for them. And we're supporting our local growers and producers as well. We also provide incentives in collaboration with the coalition that we're a part of. The coalition gives Foodwise some promotional tokens during the summer months to promote the farmers market and the use of EBT and WIC with the market at the food pantries. So our nutrition educator stands, specifically Waupaca market, pantry and the Clintonville food pantry, they are still operating on a drive-through basis right now. So Haley stands outside and just walks up to the door, chats with the families as they're in line waiting for their food from the pantry. And then she's giving them an incentive, a token to go spend, say, hey, did you know that you can go spend your dollars at the food pantry as well? Excuse me, at the farmer's market. And she heard from one of her families just in conversation last summer that they did not know they could go spend their dollars at the food pantry. And once they found out that at the beginning of the year, they were able to get off of a medication that they had been prescribed because they had more access to fresh fruits and vegetables. And that was able to really kind of help them decrease the medication based on diet changes. So we also collaborate with 2 community gardens in the county. We also, over the course of the pandemic, recognized that there was a huge gap in connecting our agencies that serve families with limited resources, that we were all working in silos. And food pantries across the county, for example, we heard from some pantries that had overflowing shelves because there was increase in benefits and there was a lot of pop-up free meat food pickups. So there was no eligibility required. So then families were just doing that instead of going to the food pantry where they had to be, fill out paperwork and be income eligible. So some of our food pantries saw decreases in families participating in their pantries and that they had food on their shelves that they couldn't get rid of. Then we had other sites that couldn't keep food on their shelves, such as Foundations for Living. So like, we need to connect these partners. We really just served as the connectors, but we just established the Waupaca County Hunger Network as a subcommittee of the Living the Waupaca Way Coalition. And now we meet on a monthly basis virtually. Actually, we've only met in person one time, but we're traveling throughout the county. Also trying to visit some of our sites and get to know each other better. But largely we're still meeting virtually because that allows everyone to join across the county. We actually have some individuals who are outside of the county as well, who serve, within their role, serve multiple counties. And so it's been a really great opportunity to collaborate and network and just bring people together too, and to divide out the resources that are available to everyone. So we do a lot. And like I said, we come to you at a rather inexpensive cost because we are federally funded. But what I do ask annually, actually, which is today, is for you to provide us a space to sit. So Haley and I share an office in the extension office. So you have kindly, since Foodwise has been in existence in Waupaca County since 2008, provided us an office space. You have provided us support from the IT department, internet, a phone, and not a cell phone, a landline, in our office. And just kind of some basic office supplies as well. And we contribute to the office in other ways as well. But so I have an annual contract that I put together, and it does have the lump sum that we are given annually, and it kind of changes as the years go by. But right now, I'll just pass it around. We are 4 counties are given $350,000 that we allocate. They're all to 4 counties. And that is including our salaries and fringe benefits and supplies, travel. So Foodwise covers all of that. And the contract that you're looking at really is just asking for your permission to continue operating the way that we've operated since 2008, which is, like I said, we provide the nutrition education, the outreach, the indirect ed, the policy systems, environmental change, us support, and then Waupaca County in return provides us a space to sit, some internet access, IT support, phone.
Quick
And
question,
there's,
Christie.
yeah,
Does, do a lot of counties let their, or make the EBT, acceptable at their farmers markets? I've been to the one in Madison, I've been to the one in Point, I haven't been to the one here, but they're wonderful. And I think it's a great idea. Is it kind of statewide? People are doing more of that?
it's more common in larger communities.
Okay.
And so mostly because there's more of a need, but there's a lot of work that goes into having EBT at a farmer's market actually. And this was a 5-year project in the making, honestly.
I think it's a great idea.
We recognize that you need a person to run the EBT machine, which led us to write a grant, which led us to hire a farmer's market manager. That was the only way, we just wasn't part of our role to sit, unfortunately, at the farmer, well, on top of a full-time job to sit at the farmer's market every Saturday and run an EBT reader, and that's just in one community. So, so part of our role really is that's an example of the policy systems and environmental change work that we can provide. And also similarly to the ag model, we have state specialists who specialize in very specific roles. So for example, we have a policy systems and environmental change specialist. So she provides a ton of information and resources to us around bringing EBT to a farmer's market or implementing school and community gardens. So although we have a more regional, local individual, we also have access to state specialists who provide trainings and support when we need. So to answer your question, it's not something that's available everywhere. For example, the Clintonville Farmers Market does not accept EBT right now. They're interested in doing so. And so kind of as we shift our energy away from Waupaca, because we're really starting to put more sustainability into that project, we could shift our energy to Clintonville and potentially help them bring on a program like that.
Regarding the agreement, we understand that Chair Caput is the signature authority with vetting from Corporation Council and things. This traditionally, this group, this is brought both for your education and awareness. And in past, this group has made a recommendation, does not have to happen, just with consensus, I will forward it on to.
Does it go to public property to?
It has not gone to public property. I'm not saying it shouldn't, I'm just saying that's the
Right.
process that I inherited, 3 years ago when I started, and it had been done, I think, since that, so.
Like he says, I think it's funny, wouldn't,
Like,
in order to provide that space,
yeah, like a
a
dual,
usage.
you know, like, it'll go, some things go from, LGS and finance to the final agreement. So, you know, multiple committees propose it, I guess is the right term. I mean, I would like to see it happen that way, both committees. I like it, and I'm on both committees, so. Yes.
Just so happens to be on there.
Then in that case, that I would think a motion would be in order, so that we have the, I want to say the paper trail, but the voting trail.
I'll make that motion.
And I'll second that one.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed?
Because it sounds like that's the way to get more support for it,
Yes,
and I'm
That's what we need.
just
Need
asking
support.
questions.
I do have one question about community gardens. You know, I know most of the cities around in the county have at least one type, but has anybody ever thought about using county property or maybe a larger one? I know we have that field behind the transfer facility by Manawa. Right now, it's just kind of sitting idle. The Manawa area is pretty central and it's a pretty big field. I don't know what groups would get together to, you know, plant it, maintain it, and harvest it, but then the food could go out to all of the food banks.
Right. Yeah, we did establish a community garden committee, actually, as a subcommittee underneath the Waupaca way as well. Because specifically in the city of Waupaca, we recognized that we had 2 community gardens that were donating to the same places, and they were just saying, here's, you know, produce from the community garden, and the pantry didn't even realize that there was actually 2 different gardens. So anyway, we wanted to just work better together. And at the same time, there's a garden that fell under and kind of into the Waupaca Way lab as well, that is housed by Theta Care here in Waupaca. And it's not Theta Care property. They managed it for a number of years for employees and then didn't want to do that any longer, so they gave it to us. We wrote a quick grant to bring on board somebody who managed that garden, because really, like anything, it can't happen well unless we have sustainability. And again, it's, you know, we just only have so many hours in our day. So that garden it was planted for a few years, just donated to the local places. And then we just were having a hard time keeping a manager on board. This year, we decided to start over, and we're turning that garden more into, right now, at least for this year, more of a sensory garden, because we just don't have the manpower to grow produce and harvest. And there's another community garden over at the Chain Exploration Center in Waupaca, and they're a production garden. They grow a ton of produce and really kind of have Waupaca covered. So we had thought about it for the Southern Garden, if there was interest in, because we also want it to be more of a community garden, community collaboration. So we had the art youth from the Arts Hub come and paint a mural on the shed. We reached out to Falks Brothers. They donated some mulch so that we could make the garden a little easier to get into and just less weeding, more, you know, less maintenance. We have put like hummingbird feeders and bug houses and creating an opportunity for education. So So anyway, that's a rabbit hole, but we also though recognize that there's an opportunity to reach out to local organizations such as the food pantry or senior center or the schools, or even Foundations for Living is right down the road, to see if they would like a plot, and then they could grow produce for their organization. So Foundations for Living could have a plot, and then they could just have their produce for them. So that kind of eliminates the middleman of somebody growing the food and dropping it off, and they can grow what they want for their site. So that I could see working really well at a county level. And then it would just be putting together the county or the community organizations who would be interested in, having a plot at the site.
And, Ken will let you know I come up with crazy ideas
No,
all
I
the
love
time. But I always thought, why aren't we planting apple and pear trees and berry bushes in the parks? And just letting people know, hey, it's your park. If you're hungry and you need an apple, there's nothing wrong with picking it. Most berry plots are easy to maintain. You just gotta mow around them so they don't take over the whole park. But would that be something that you guys could possibly facilitate? Or
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if there was a team of people that came to us and said, hey, we have this land, we want to put this together, we could help assemble a team and, get it off the ground. In many years, I'm sure it would take.
yes,
But yeah, I mean, that's in a much smaller scale, kind of our vision for the community garden on Vita Care grounds, is that we want it, it's not locked, we want it to be open. It's the old middle school is right there, or elementary school is right next door. There's still a basketball hoop right there. So we're putting some of our funding into like a new basketball hoop net, and we're gonna purchase a bin that's gonna have some balls and signage and things. We actually had the high school build us, we paid for the materials for 2 picnic tables. And so there's 2 picnic tables at the garden now. The tech ed group made those for us. So, we want it to be more of a community space, open. Hey, there's some ripe tomatoes, or there's a raspberry bush, come and pick some raspberries, and, just have a place to explore. And so one of our collaborations is also the public library. So we just held an event at the garden with the library. The library did a story time there, and they also have a huge following. So families that were already coming to their events just came here, and that was an opportunity to see and learn about the gardening. So I think if you're smart about it and you have the right partnerships, you can make kind of anything work. It's just now finally after the pandemic, it's like life again. And get back out to collaborating, and everyone was, like, oh, we're gonna do our own thing, but we don't think we should open it up to everyone quite yet. And now it's like, let's open the floodgates and do it all. So we're just getting started again this year.
I have one question. I'm gonna back up a little bit. So how many days a week, or what part, 1/5 of the year do you need this space? In case this question comes up, do you need the space here?
So Haley's here every day. And,
Haley's here every day.
Yep.
Oh,
And we, obviously, all of our jobs are in the community, but we do spend a significant amount of time in our offices as well. We're still doing virtual education, so sometimes, needing the technology here, or even we rent out this office or this room quite a bit to have access to the larger TV and to do Zooms. Actually, the coalition meetings are held in this room because we always provide a Zoom option now, because we have people who are all over the place. And so we have larger attendance when we can have in-person and Zoom availability. So that's on a monthly basis that we rent out this room. And then I'm here most of the time, but I do travel to the other counties as well. Like Chris said, for the ag region, similarly, I have a space that I can kind of sit down, plop, and work for a day in all of the offices. But my home is here. I started here, and that didn't change when I absorbed the other counties. And we're very much on the road or doing outreach, but sometimes I'll start my day here and then head out somewhere else later on, or vice versa. I'm gonna head to Outagini first, but then I'm gonna end my day in Waupaca just so I can plug in and get what I need. So every day is different, but I would say there's somebody in our office every single day.
And Ken, just to add additional context, not only to as Christy described, but then also related to the discussion with the regional ag educators and all of our UW staff. Remote work or 100% remote work is not an option with the University of Wisconsin-Madison. So we do have to have we need office spaces for the staff. That is, and that's part of why this agreement letter and then the contract includes that. Now, as Christy mentioned, and you'll notice that not every time we walk in and they'll be at their offices because they're we're out and about in the community, and we do have opportunity for some flexible professional scheduling, but that's the exception, not the norm. So that's just additional context. And I think I've shared that with you. I just want to make sure that our two new members, just that's at this point, it's not an option. So we do need to provide some space. And it's also not an expectation, because then there would be expectations that the staff would have to have certain internet requirements and all of those kind of things. And that's not feasible. So in many places, I think many of as you represent different areas. So this building is some of the best internet in the area. So there are a lot of times in which I know Christy and Haley and Penny for sure will come in to be able to participate in Zooms or to do work because sometimes their connections are a little bit spotty.
And we have a ton of partner meetings here in our office. Haley and I have, but we each have a work office space in our office, and then we have a small table. So oftentimes we have partners just coming into our office to meet, or we meet in 1016, which is the meeting space in our office, because our hands are in so many different projects that oftentimes we're the meeting space. And so we on a weekly basis are bringing others in from the community to meet with us because we have such nice opportunities for that for internet, like Chris said. We've got one person meeting from Zoom, so then we turn on our computer. So
Okay, if that's it, we'll go on to the next number 10, outreach education.
Jessica, do you have any quick updates?
I actually am remembering, did I show you guys this last time? This is from we did, do you remember this?
I don't think it was
Okay,
shown last
then
time.
I don't have much to say about them, but I will quick give you guys a little update. This is from the Leadership Waupaca County graduation. This is the program. And a couple of things I wanted to make note of. I'm sorry, I only brought quite enough. A couple of things I wanted to share. So this is the first program that we've done fully remote. In the past, it's always been, 1 day a month in a location all together. And we skipped the 2020, 2021 year, we skipped that. And so then, because at the time when I would have been promoting the program, Omicron was like rampant and we didn't know what things were going to be like, but I didn't want to skip another year. So we decided to go virtual and to do it a little differently. So it wasn't a full day virtual. It was 4 hours, between 3 and 4 hours, depending on the day. We tagged on to a statewide program that was happening at the time that a colleague in Greene County was putting on called the Civil Leadership for Vibrant Communities. And it was a program it was a partnership with something called Braver Angels, who is a national program who specializes in getting people to talk across divides, in particular political divides. So they focus on that, which frankly was a little bit of a criticism of the program because people don't want to talk politics. And at the same time, it's also really important for us to be able to move forward, for us to be able to talk about politics. So it was kind of an interesting mix and balance. And then we still offered some of the same things we normally do with Leadership Waupaca County, like real colors and the projects And so in there, there's a summary of the 3 projects. I was really excited that they each took a different approach. The topics that they came up with, all except one, are topics that come up over and over and over again whenever Leadership Waupaca County meets. And so, but the 2 projects, so that would be the, I should probably look at this. Can I borrow yours? I can't remember the names that they chose for them. That's why I'm struggling here. Okay, yes, the Waupaca Internet Service Education. In the past, when broadband has come up, it's been focused on what broadband options are available. And in this case, they focused on helping people understand what their broadband needs are, and then look for what's available that will meet their needs, right? So they were saying maybe not everyone needs like the fastest, the best internet out there. Maybe what they need is something a little bit less, and it's okay. That's okay. Just figure out what your needs are and then go and search. So that was really interesting. The rural revitalization, that's another one that comes up over and over again. They started out talking about how do we attract and retain young people in our community, and this was the Clintonville area. And in the end, they kind of came around to understanding that there's a lot to offer in our small communities, in our rural communities. And perhaps if they focused a lot more on what we have to offer and, assuming that there's some decent internet, maybe we can attract more people here through different kind of targeted marketing. So, and I know that Waupaca County Economic Development Corporation has been working on that kind of targeted marketing for a while, but they focused a lot more on the amenities that the community has. And the last one, this was just a totally unique project that I haven't seen before, the joint municipal facility. That was where the city of Clintonville was, so we have the city of Clintonville administrator and the police chief in the class this year. And then we also had Casey Myersdorf, and they talked about, hey, Clintonville has some needs. The county has some needs around this kind of a facility up in the Clintonville area. Let's explore this. And so they did some research, they explored it. I think they even presented to Clintonville. I don't know if they presented to the county board yet, or if that's gonna happen, so not yet.
Not yet.
But they really were looking at the feasibility, and they were developing, and through that, they were developing this, strong relationship about, so even if it didn't happen now, like they're developing the base relationships they need to maybe make it happen in the future. So that's all. I just wanted to share. It was a really lovely event. It was the first time we had gotten together in person. That's the main thing I wanted to share. And because it was the first time we had gotten together in person, I feel like every graduation feels special, but it kind of felt a little more special because we had only seen each other in boxes for a while. So, and that's not even, I'm not even knocking virtual, because I think it's a really important tool, like Christy was saying, especially in the winter. But anyway, I went as fast as I could. That was my fast update on the graduation. I know we're running long today.
Very good. I think that's exciting to Clintonville on the highway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great
Because,
idea.
number one, you've got city sewer and water. Okay, where Helvetia doesn't have that. There's issues out there, and you being from the old Larrabee shop for your whole life.
Look at what the cost to build a new one or remodel that one. I mean, that's astronomical.
And they still wouldn't have the city sewer and water.
You guys should call Casey and tell him that.
No, he knows it.
Oh, he does, okay.
Right? We've kind of talked about
He'd
it.
love to hear that.
Oh, no, I think it's a great idea. Well, I was kind of even like, getting me off. Different stories.
They did a really good presentation that we put online too
Oh, yes,
On
thank
the-
you.
on our website.
Yeah, we can, in the next update we do for the next meeting, we'll include the link to where the presentations are. We couldn't get their voices, right? But we have their slideshow, so you can at least see that.
Okay, there are any program reminders or anything? Yeah.
I think we're good. Oh, the one little minor thing. Penny hired an LTE. Her name is Katie. So she's going to help with some programming needs to kind of fill the gap as we transition with the support staff for hopefully a couple weeks, but also with some of the summer is the busiest. Summer into early fall is the busiest time of year for 4-H staff. So that was the funding. We had a 0.4 position, permanent position, and with some of our changes and just uncertainties, we added some dollars into the LTE to give some flexibility. That would be available, so Penny's utilizing it, but it would also be if there was one of the other staff members or we had another need for a short-term project, that's what we would utilize that for.
Chris, I'm so sorry, I have one last small thing I just realized, just as something to celebrate. Sandy, before she left, worked on a grant for the early childcare network that I've been helping to facilitate. And we got the grant, and so did the city. The city and the county both got a $75,000 grant plus technical support. So the technical support will start in November, where apologies, I wasn't involved in the grant writing process, so I don't know like the mechanics of it, but someone from this group will come in and help both the city and county together. They want us to work together, help us work through some solutions for childcare in the area. And then we will have that, we'll each have that $75,000 to use as seed money for us to like start implementing the solution. So just a huge thank you to Sandy and to everyone. I think Ryan Brown was also involved in that, working on that, but it's a very small amount of money. It's wonderful. It's a very small amount of money for what's needed. Okay, sorry, Chris. Now I'm done.
I guess last meeting, we're gonna come up with a schedule for this.
It was included in the back page of your packet with the proposed meeting schedule, and if anybody needs to see it, I can pull it off. But we have a proposed meeting schedule that was presented. I think in the past, what we've plotted basically. We've kind of used some of the traditional dates and looking at the calendar for the rest of 2022, 2023, and 2024 up till April. And so a couple of highlights. In August, this group has met on the 3rd Wednesday because of the county fair. And have not met in December or December. We met in June this year because we missed April, and then no meeting in February, June, and December. So that's what we've done in the past. The one, obviously, I think one of the things is it's easier to have some dates and have them on your calendar. And if we either don't have a quorum, or 2, the agenda is a little on the lighter side, it's easier to cancel than to try and reclaim time. The other thing is kind of a unwritten is that we have a handful of times right now. So for example, the November meeting dates look like, if I'm right, they're going to be the Monday right after the Thanksgiving holiday. Sometimes the 4th fits, it's in between. But we have slid into the 1st or 2nd week in December and kind of split that month up. But that is like a game time decision that we have. We meet a little bit more heavy in the fall because of the budget process and things like that. So this would be the that proposed that we would send to the clerk's office also, and they would kind of have on hand just and not to include or not include in the meeting updates. So, but it would be the 4th Monday at 9 a.m. The next meeting would be the 25th of July, with the following one slated for August 15th, which is a week earlier than normal because of the fair.
Yeah. To find it in yours?
I didn't look for it. I'll look at it.
I know, because you got that going on. You know what I mean?
Okay, I guess if nothing else, have a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second that.
We are adjourned.
Right. Thank you. I will.